Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Barely Bookish podcast. Today, we are going to be finishing up the Iliad. So tomorrow, or next week, we will have our movie episode, which will be Troy. You know, the great movie with Brad Pitt. That's what we're going to talk about. That's what we're going to watch, and we're going to have a lot to say. So be sure to watch that movie before next week, and then you can tune in with us and enjoy all that fun stuff. So if you haven't seen it yet, I feel like honestly a lot of people have seen it, but yeah, just watch it, and then you can hear us all talk about, well, hear me and Jade talk about it. So that'll be fun. And we're also going to start the Odyssey. So we did end up doing the Emily Wilson translation of the Odyssey for our next episode. And I honestly really enjoy that translation. I think a lot of people who've never tried to read the Odyssey will kind of find it more user friendly. Just because a lot of, like, with this translation that I read of the Iliad, it kind of bogged down the language quite a bit. And I feel like the Emily Wilson translation kind of made it so that like anybody could pick it up and read it, which is something I really, really like. So I highly recommend checking that out and joining us on those episodes that will be coming out in 2 weeks. But yeah, I don't have a whole lot of big announcements. Our Patreon exclusive episode for October is going to be the Song of Achilles. So if you haven't joined us over on Patreon, we got new exciting content. So every single month you get every single month you get an exclusive episode to whatever we're discussing, and every week you get the episode a little early. So you get the episodes Monday morning instead of Wednesday morning. So I don't know, check it out and join us on Patreon. It's a lot of fun, and I would love having you all there. So, and if you want to help support the podcast, please consider sharing us with a friend. It helps a lot, and I would really appreciate it. But I will catch you guys all in the episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Barely Bookish podcast. Today we are finishing up the Iliad, probably, hopefully, maybe, possibly. I am joined today by Jade from About a Book podcast.
Hello.
We are gonna get right back into this. I have a lot to talk about with the Iliad because honestly, what?
Yeah, the ending just got me. Like the last couple
Yeah.
of chapters. I'm enjoying talking
Yeah.
about it. I was trying to save all my we did a little bit of chatting before we started recording, but
Hmm.
yeah, I'm saving most of my thoughts to talk about them as we go. So let's just jump right into it.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think we're gonna have a lot of thoughts. Many thoughts are happening. Many things we need to talk about at this point. So
It's like the end of an era. Like we've been working on this book for so long, like
I
trudging
know.
through it. Yeah, now it's finally done. Anyways,
Yeah.
well,
Through
let's get into it.
microphone breaks. Uh, you know, we're getting through it slowly. So on book 18, we get Achilles talking, and his friend comes up and's like, "Hey, Pat's dead and he's naked and Hector took his armor." And Achilles is like, "I'm sorry, what? What did you just say to me? Like, what happened?"
Mm.
And Achilles starts bawling his eyes out, and he's bawling so loudly that his mother on Olympus can hear him.
Oh, stop, it's too sad. I don't
I
know
was
if
like,
it's because like I've started my period or what, but like I just found the end of this book I just couldn't take it today. I couldn't,
yeah.
all the descriptions of him just being like so upset and heartbroken and everything. It's just
Hmm.
like, oh
I know. I was like, "Oh, Achilles, my main man. Like, this is rough. This is a really rough one. I'm gonna be honest."
yeah. Like finding out from someone else just kind of like
Hmm.
nonchalant that like your best friend, lover, everything is dead.
Yeah. Yes, I know. I was like, in this moment, I was like, "Yeah, I see where the Song of Achilles came in. Let's be honest here. Like, this is not just a friendship. Like, they're definitely married, and I will take no other
Oh,
feedback or comments
definitely.
about it.
Definitely. Yeah.
100%. And then Achilles is just feeling really bad about not going with Pat. And he's like, okay, now I have to make it up to him. I gotta go to war.
Because
So
that's
his
what you do.
mom,
You gotta avenge the death. You know what I mean?
yeah.
That's what true war heroes do. So,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. For sure. Like, this is avenging only. Like, we have no other way to cope in this house.
like Achilles has always had like a crazy temper, and he's always been like a fierce fighter, like just absolute
Hmm.
destroyer. So like he's about to go off on another level. Like at the end of this book, it's
Hmm.
crazy.
I'm ready for it. I'm ready to see it. I want to watch it happen. I want Achilles to completely go off. Absolutely.
Me too. Like I was really sad, but I was also like, ooh, drama. I can't wait to see what happens.
Yes. So his mom's like, okay, listen, go talk. I'm going to go, you go talk to Neptune, tell him everything, and I'm going to go talk to a workman and I'm going to get you new armor because obviously the armor that you had is no longer available for anybody. So Iris shows up to Achilles and like, they're like, okay, we'll both separate, team break. Let's go do that. So
Hmm.
Iris shows up to Achilles and shames him for not fighting quickly enough and says he needs to get out there. And Achilles like, listen, I have no armor. I've got no weapons. What do you want me to do right now?
I love Iris, but I was like, that's not really fair. He's just gotten bad news. Like,
Yeah.
he's got literally nothing. Calm down, girl. He'll get to it. Don't worry.
I mean, I get it though, because like literally he sat out of this fight for like 8 years or
To be
whatever.
fair, yeah.
Yeah. And like at this point, Iris is just straight up done with it. She's like, there are so many people that are dead right now. Like, let's go. Let's get this show on the road. Like, your friend's dead. Let's fight. Like, what else do you have to live for?
Yeah, like I want to go home. I want to end this war. Come on, like you're carrying the
Yeah.
team. Just come and do your thing, and then you can be sad. That's basically
Like,
what she said to him.
I know. For the gods, basically, this is like cable TV where they're on like season 15 and there's not really much to add to it, so they just kind of like keep doing it. This is like a soap
Yeah.
opera for them.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like told in increments, like I kind
Hmm.
of imagine like them going to like a tavern or something, and then like the bard saying the story like a different chapter every night. So they're kind of like
Hmm.
returning to watch it. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, okay, can we like get something different on? And they're like, no. So Achilles shows up to the warm front, and then instead of like going into the battle, he just starts like shouting like
As you
vague
do.
threats. So after 3 times of like Achilles yelling, Juno makes the sun set just for, the dramatics at this point.
Ambiance, some nice
Yeah,
ambiance while
truly.
they go out and slaughter everyone.
Love ambiance in this house, I guess.
Mood
Um
lighting.
Oh my gosh. She's like, it'd be great with these threats. The yogurt sky. So the Trojans are going to spend the night in the city for protection, so they aren't as easy to attack in the morning. And then Hector's like, nah, man, Jove is on our side. Let's do this. And so the Trojans are like, you know what? A great idea. Let's just like camp out outside. And I'm like, Trojans, like, do you want to die here? Like, what?
Just in broad daylight, well, broad
Yeah,
nightlight or whatever.
by the
Or
night of the moon.
not even that. Imagine all the like mosquitoes and stuff. I mean, I don't know if
Mm,
mosquitoes are in that area, but still you're exposed not just to like the enemy, but to like all of the elements and
yeah.
animals and everything.
I mean, like, all I can think about is like the Trojans have the option to go home to their wives. Like, basically, this war to them is like a 9 to 5. They
Yeah,
fight all day, go home to their wives, go take a shower, go to bed. And instead, they're like, what would be better? What if we just like camped outside? What? Like, why would you do that to yourself?
because their wives are probably nagging them. They're like, oh, I'd literally rather sleep outside in full view of the enemy than go home to my complaining wife. That's probably what they're like.
Their wife that's just like, could you like take a day off to see your son for his birthday? You've missed 8 birthdays at this point. And then she's like, no, Geraldine, I will not take a day off for my son's birthday. This war effort's the most important to me. Like, listen, I'm on the wife side in this one.
Me too.
Let them sleep outside if they're gonna miss sweet Joey's 8th birthday for the 8th year in a row. Absolutely ridiculous. So they've got women weeping over Pat's body, and Achilles is like, listen, I'm not gonna bury him until Hector has been slain, and I've also killed 12 Trojans. It's very specifically 12 Trojans. So Jove is telling Juno that she's acting like the Achaeans are her own flesh and blood because she's like really trying to back them all up. Thetis shows up at Vulcan's house and is happily greeted by, I'm going to say Charis.
I think that's it.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
that's how I was reading it in my head.
Mm-hmm. If not, it's probably close enough to people know what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So apparently Thetis helped Vulcan when Juno threw him off Olympus. So Thetis and Vulcan are just the tightest at this point, which I don't think it's Vulcan for you, right? Is it Hephaestus?
Yeah.
Or is it? Okay. I hate that this is
I've just been going
Roman gods.
by your names. It's fine.
No, I just hate that it's Roman gods because I don't care about the Roman gods. I just want it to be Greek gods, but I don't remember all the conversions enough to rewrite them in my
Yeah.
head.
Yeah, just scribble out the names and just put in the Greek names over it.
Yeah.
For the whole book.
Vulcan. Crossed out. Hephaestus, smiley face. So Thetis starts crying to Vulcan and tells him that everything has happened that's happened with Achilles. And then she's like, could you please make Achilles armor because his end is probably near. This entire time, they're just like talking about Achilles dying. The
So
entire
yeah,
time.
that's probably why you were leading
Mm-hmm.
up to that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was waiting for it. I was like, okay, Achilles is gonna die. Spoiler, he doesn't die at the end of this novel. So I'm not really sure why we all think he's dead.
He does die in some text, but I can't remember which one it is because I've
When
read
I
the Iliad
Googled
and
it,
the Odyssey and the thing, so I can't remember now.
yeah. When I Googled Achilles' death, it said the Iliad, but he does not explicitly die. I reread that last chapter multiple times to make sure that he didn't die.
I can't. Yeah, I don't know when. I just know that he gets shot in the ankle and dies. That's all I know.
Yeah, by
And
Apollo.
it's. I think I'm pretty sure it's mentioned in the Odyssey, but I don't know
Hmm.
if it's in the. I didn't read it in the Iliad, so
Yeah.
unless there's a page missing out of both of ours.
Oh, I'm gonna be so mad. Like I was looking at Spark notes to try and figure out where he died, and I didn't get any answer. So let me know, everybody, if you have a version of the Iliad that includes Achilles' death, because I don't have it. You don't have it. Who has it? Like, where does Achilles die?
I'm like dating myself now, but like, yeah, I didn't. Like, I'm pretty sure he's like even mentioned on the last page of mine.
Yeah, he's like mentioned on the last 2 pages. I went back to make sure because I was like, I know he's supposed to die because my entire last page is about the Trojans and Hector. But we can talk about it when we get there because we're not quite there
Yeah,
yet. But
exactly.
mad about it. So, Hephaestus slash Vulcan says that he'll absolutely make armor for Achilles. He's like, I've got you. It's fine. And then we get a fun armor making montage in which he goes into the greatest detail about this armor, and then again for the shield, about the entire scene he's creating on this shield.
I mean, that must have been exciting for the people back then. You know what I mean? Because maybe they couldn't ever afford such a beautiful armor or something. I don't know. But even like
I,
now, when I'm reading contemporary books and it just like goes way too into detail about something like minor, I'm like,
mm-hmm,
you know,
mm-hmm. But he gives all the armor to Thetis, and she immediately is like, okay, gotta go, thanks, bye, and gives it to Achilles. So then, book 19. Thetis reaches the ship right as dawn breaks. So very dramatic. You know, sun's coming
Mhm.
up. Thetis has armor in her arms, running, probably on the wind. No, she's a water goddess. Running on the water.
Imagine Pamela Anderson, Baywatch run.
Yes, absolutely. The Baywatch soundtrack playing in the distance.
Yeah.
So Achilles is like absolutely pumped about his armor, but he's worried about his friend's body decomposing. And Thetis is like, listen, I'll make sure his body does not rot for a full year so that Achilles can go into the battle with a clear mind.
Mm,
And Achilles is like, okay, cool, thank you. Sounds good. And then he calls a meeting, and even the king shows up to like it really just Achilles seems to be more powerful than the king for some reason, which is something I
definitely.
just think's funny.
Yeah. Like he's pulling all the strings.
Mm-hmm. He's like,
Because I mean, he wouldn't want one. He wouldn't want to get on his bad side
mm-hmm.
because he's a good fighter, and two, he's just like so valuable to everybody that you got
Yeah,
to kind of like do whatever he says.
yeah, and I love it. I really do.
Yeah, it's kind of like how like some celebrities are just like above the law, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
That's
That I
what.
hate.
Yeah, especially during this pandemic, like
Yeah.
that's when you saw it most clear. But anyway, yeah, that was
Mm-hmm.
just a side tangent.
Don't even get me started because I'll talk all day about it. Let's be honest. I can't talk politics because I'll never stop.
That's a mood.
Yeah. Um. So then Achilles says that he's put his anger away out of necessity, and Agamemnon is like, "Hey." He's like, okay, I'll give you all of your riches. But then he also tells this super long story about Juno having a baby for absolutely no reason that I couldn't figure out why we were talking about it.
I mean, that's what was my thought process for most of the Iliad. I was like, why are we talking about this so much? Even like
Mm-hmm.
going back to describing the armor, I was just like, okay, you know.
Yeah.
I guess it's because they're trying to just like, cast a wide net, interest everybody. So like, oh, for
Mm-hmm.
the mothers, like here's like a description of like having a baby or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I was like, what? What? Like, I didn't even know whose Juno's baby was. Like, why we were talking about that. Like, it felt like very much like Agamemnon was just like soapboxing there for a second. He's like, and I'm glad you're back and you're gonna rejoin us. But before that happens, let me tell you all a dramatic story. I was like, okay, whatever. Thanks for that.
Just rolling
Anyways,
with it.
moving on.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
cool, moving on.
Yeah. So then Achilles says Agamemnon can give gifts that he wants or withhold them because it legit does not matter at all. And then he also says that he wants everyone to fast to go into battle. And Ulysses is like, listen, that is the worst idea I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Please don't do that. I'm older and wiser than you are. This is a bad idea.
Yeah, like I'm definitely on Ulysses like Odysseus's side because like
Hmm.
he just knows what he's doing. I'm pretty sure he's the one that thought of the whole like Trojan horse thing. Also, there was like not very much, if any mention of that in this either.
Yeah, I was like, where does that come in? Because I thought that was in here, but apparently it's not.
There's just so many texts about like the Trojan War that
Hmm.
that's just probably in another version. I can't actually remember what that's in, but yeah.
Apparently, there's also a really good retelling called A Thousand Ships, which is about the
I've
women.
heard that. Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
really
really,
gotta
really want
watch
to read that. I want to read loads of different like mythology adaptions for retellings
it.
and all that type of thing.
Yes.
But what was I saying? Oh yeah, going into battle on an empty stomach, definitely not a good idea.
No.
Like maybe they're trying to be like, oh, if they're really hungry, they'll be like really angry and just kind of channel all their rage and like be focused. But when I'm
I don't know.
hungry, I do get very angry, but I can't
Hmm.
like focus on anything. Like I get
No.
serious like hanger, like I'll be so snappy and everything, but like I will not be able to concentrate on anything. So I think that's definitely a bad
Same.
idea.
Big same here. As soon as I'm hungry, I'm like, okay, I'm no longer functional. Thank you. So Achilles is still like, I really want to do this. And everyone's just like, don't do it. And he's still gonna do it, I guess. But Agamemnon gives Achilles all the gifts he promised and also calls Jove to witness this entire situation, like as a unbiased third party, if you could give those
None of
air
the gods
quotes.
are unbiased.
I
None of the
know.
gods are unbiased.
Literally though. They're literally in the war effort picking sides right now.
Yeah.
Everyone's biased. So Achilles' wife finally got returned to him, and she's crying in the hut because she finds out about Pat. And I was like, And after reading A Song of Achilles, that just hit a little harder, which I can't wait for you to read that.
I'm really excited. I'm going to tell you like all of my thoughts on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's kind of good too because I was kind of reading this with like a clear mind. You know, I wasn't getting confused or anything with like any other adaptions.
So then we find out that Achilles killed his wife's husband and then made her marry him. And I was like, yikes. Big yikes.
Marriage is just like thrown around, you
Yeah.
know. But yeah, like marriage just doesn't even guarantee like loyalty or like foreverness or anything. It's just kind of like, oh yeah, let's get. Oh yeah, you like you're gonna be my wife now. Oh yeah, I'm married to you, but I'm just gonna go off this
Yeah.
person. You know, whatever. You're my wife. I'm never gonna see you. I'm gonna stay in battle for my whole life.
I don't understand the premise of marriage at all.
Me neither, because it's not even like it's like you know like a Christian thing, like only have sex with your wife or whatever, because like they're all doing that before marriage anyway. So I don't
I
even
don't know
know
the
what the point
benefit.
is, but
Like, I really, like,
yeah.
my only understanding of marriage in this is that basically when you're married, that means the kids are legitimate and can be heir to your family. Like, that's the only benefit of marriage, it seems like.
Yeah. But there's still like many like people like that marriage is like kids are like out of wedlock
Yeah.
as well. So it's not even like they're like staying abstinent until marriage. So I
I
don't
don't
even know.
know. I really don't understand it at all.
Me neither. Anyways.
Yeah. So Achilles still committing to fasting. Joe tells Minerva to go give Achilles nectar and ambrosia so that he will not know hunger, because apparently that's, instead of telling Achilles to eat, that's what they are deciding to do.
If I was starving and someone gave me that, I'd be like, are you serious? Are you serious
Yeah,
right
I
now?
mean, like, and my whole thing is like, why does Achilles not think that that means he's like, he, like, for some reason in Achilles' head, he's still fasting, even though he had ambrosia and nectar. So I'm like, you're not really fasting anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like when people like do Lent or something where they go off something and then they're like, oh, it's like this special occasion. I'm just gonna like go off it and like
Yeah.
do whatever I want. And it's like, well, it's kind of like breaking your
Yeah, a little
fast.
bit.
But anyways.
I don't know. I'm just like, that's weird to me. But Minerva was like, yeah, I was gonna do that anyways, so I'm gonna do it anyway. Like, my favorite thing is, it's like, it's kind of like one of those things when your parents are like, go clean your room, and you were like in the middle of the process of cleaning it, and you're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And then you don't even want to clean
Yeah,
your
you're
room.
like,
You're like, I
never
just want
mind.
to do it. But now they tell me to do it, I don't want to do it.
Achilles
Yeah.
wants to fast, let him fast, whatever. So Achilles armors up. People keep like foretelling Achilles' death to him, and they're like, "Hey, you're gonna die," and he's like, "Yeah, I'm aware. You don't have to tell me twice. Like, I already know."
If I was him, I would be sweating. Like, imagine everyone around you being like, oh, like the clock's ticking, like your days are numbered. Like, I'd be paralyzed. I don't know how he's just like, yeah,
Yeah, I
whatever.
know. I'd be very stressed out. I would not be going into a war front. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. But I suppose he does just have so much like
Yeah.
confidence and ego that he's like invincible. So maybe he just didn't really believe it or
Or, I
whatever.
mean, he has no will to live at this point. I guess like his husband is dead, so
Yeah, so we just like bring
yeah.
it on. Take me out of my
He's like,
misery.
fine, whatever. I don't care. But I guess
Yeah, I feel
apparently
weird.
Achilles already knows he's gonna die, but he tells everyone to stop bringing it up to him. He's like, I already know, but like, could you just not remind me today? That'd be great. Thank you.
I'm trying to eat my lunch. I'm trying to just enjoy the sunny day. Stop
I just,
reminding
now
me.
I'm imagining like Achilles coming out of his corporate office job, sitting on the floor, like sitting out on a grassy bench, looking out into the garden, and someone walking by and be like, "Hey, Achilles, did you know you're gonna die this week?" And he's like, "Yeah,
Yeah. Or you just like open a fortune cookie and it just says it inside and it's like, are you kidding
yeah."
me?
Oh my gosh, poor Achilles! Just constant reminders of his mortality. So, book 20, Jove gathers up all the gods and he's like, listen, I am not putting in any effort to this war anymore. You all can do whatever you want. I no longer care. And all the gods are like, okay, sounds good. And then they leave and they're like, yes, awesome. Love that for us. Love it. So good.
As if they weren't running like wild enough already. Now they have like the full reins to do whatever they
Yeah, I know.
want with the humans.
Literally. They were like doing this anyways, and now it's just legal.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when you like, well, for you, it's like 21, and you're like, oh, I can drink now, like just legally because I already
Yeah,
was.
literally. Like that's the whole thing is like I think it's funny that because I went to London when I was 18 and then I was like,
Yeah.
legally allowed to drink. And then I come back to the US and I'm like, okay, weird. Because it's like,
Do many people like underage drink in America? Like, is it totally normal just to
yeah.
like completely ignore that, or
Yeah, it's
yeah,
pretty normal. I mean, like, it's basically once you get out of high school, everyone underage drinks and gets like fake IDs and stuff. I didn't really, which is I'm not saying that because like podcasting, I didn't underage drink, blah, blah. Like I
yeah,
didn't drink until I went to London. And then that was like I drank for the first
yeah,
time. I think I like had a sip of a beer or something like before I
yeah,
went to try it, but I actually drank like when it was legal when I was in Europe. And then I was like, oh, this is what I missed out in high school because I didn't drink at all in high school. And then, everyone else
yeah,
did because they got invited to parties.
yeah.
I get invited to parties.
Yeah, like I never drank before 18, and then I didn't even like really have a drink until I was like 20, and now I still don't even really drink. I don't know, it just doesn't really like interest me. But yeah, as you know, Ireland, the reputation, everyone starts drinking like super, super young, like 13,
Yeah.
14 or whatever. Um, yeah. But anyways, what were we saying?
Uh,
Oh, about the
yeah.
gods having free
I
reign
haven't
now.
looked back.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't even know.
This this is like the subtitle of this whole like series of podcasts is just like the Iliad plus comparison between America
I
and Ireland.
know.
That's
I
just a
love
bit of a
it.
copyright.
I think it's fun. I like comparing different experiences and like things like that because I
Me
think it,
too.
kind of enriches your own life to see how others live.
Yeah, exactly.
But I will say, when I was living in London, I lived in there for like a month. I say living in London just because I feel like I don't want to call it like an extended vacation because it wasn't. It was like a study abroad, but
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter. Um, but I was on my way to class one morning, and to get to class, like you could either walk to class or you could take the tube. But I walked to class one morning just because I didn't feel like going through the tube. I just emotionally wasn't. I was like, I could get a walk. That'd be nice. So I'm walking to class and I pass a pub and someone is drinking a pint of beer at like 10 a.m. And I was like, th- like for me, I was like, that was like a surreal experience. I was like, it's a Wednesday
Oh,
morning.
really?
This is beautiful. Like, this is how I want to live my life.
Yeah, that's just Ireland. Like in college, like in the student pub, people would be in there like at 10 a.m. drinking pints.
See,
Like,
for us, like some places, and like on some days, you like legally can't get it before a certain time. At least that's what it was for the longest
yeah,
time.
that's like in Ireland
Okay.
as well. Yeah,
Because I think
yeah. But yeah, people do just day drink all the
I
time.
think on Sundays you can't get it before like noon or something like that.
Yeah, something similar is here. But yeah, people do just drink anytime.
Yeah. It was just wild to me. I was like, I literally walked past them and I had to process for a second what they were drinking because they didn't have any food. They just had a pint of beer and they were just sitting outside. And I was like, wow,
Someone's having either a rough day or like the best day
I
ever.
can't imagine. Like, I was trying to decide if they were still drinking from the night before or if they had woken up and chosen to just start drinking immediately.
Who knows? One of life's biggest mysteries.
Either way, kind of a mood sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
So Apollo's going around trying to hype up everyone, and then he hypes up. My brain says Aeneas is how I've been saying it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And he's like, "Hey, you should fight Achilles." And Aeneas is like, "You know what? I should fight Achilles." And we're all like, "Aeneas, no, like what are you doing?" So he like rolls up to Achilles and he's like, "Hey, we're going to fight." And Achilles like, "Listen, you are the scum of the earth. You are the dirt on my shoe. He's like, you are nothing compared to me. So, like, do you really think this is a good idea right now? So then Neptune and all the other gods are like looking down at this, and Neptune turns to them and is like, listen, we have to save Aeneas. I don't know who told him he could do this, but like, this is not going to work out in his favor. He's going to die. And so the gods are like, listen, if you really want to save him, Neptune, just go down and do it. Like, no one's going to stop you. And Neptune's like, oh, okay.
Okay.
So Neptune saves him and told him to wait till Achilles is out of the battle to go back. He's like, you're going to die. Like, don't be a moron. So then Hector decides to fight Achilles. And I'm like, oh man, it's happening. It's for real happening. And we also find out Achilles like just killed Hector's younger brother, who his parents were trying to get him out of the battle,
Yeah.
and he was a moron and stayed.
Moron is such an American term as well. That's just like
Oh,
not said
really?
here.
Hmm.
Yeah, we say like Egypt.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, like EJIT, Egypt. Means like same thing.
To me, that's really close to idiot, so I'm wondering if it's a slang of idiot. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's like the Irish
Honestly,
version.
that's kind of
But
fun.
anyways, yeah, killing Hector's yeah, that's like yeah, authentic Irish slang. But anyways, yeah, killing his younger brother, dirty move.
Yeah. I mean, listen, Achilles at this point, I don't think he even realized that that was Hector's younger brother. Like, he's just full, like, broad swinging. You know what I
True.
mean?
True. Just open firing
Yeah.
anybody. Yeah.
Like, basically.
I mean, he does worse towards
Yeah.
the end. So
Yeah, the way they describe some of his, like, murders, I'm like, "Dude, what?" Like, literally what? So, my favorite part then is that the gods have decided that Achilles and Hector's fight is happening too soon and separate them. And are like, you guys need to fight other people first, and then you can come back later. I was like, are you serious? Like, basically, this is the like God equivalent of them being like, hey, you had your 15 minutes on the tablet. Now you need to give it to your brother.
yeah.
Like, that's what happened.
That's exactly what it's like.
Yeah, literally. So then we're on to book 21. So Achilles somehow gets half of the Trojan army to jump into a river to avoid him.
Yeah, I just imagine him like just like pointing at them and they're kind of like walking
Mhm.
backwards like slowly and they just kind of like fall into the river like without
My
noticing.
favorite thing
He just kind of like pushes them
Yeah,
in
my
it.
favorite thing is I kept imagining this as like a creek instead of like a real river. So like they're like ankle deep in this river. And I don't know why my brain was doing that, but like I was imagining them like ankle deep on the shoreline and then like the middle part is just really deep, but it's only like one body sized, you know what I mean? Like
And they're just like, "Oh, my socks are wet."
yeah. Yeah. And they're like, "Oh no, the horror." And then like Achilles is like, "Get in the river." So he's on an absolute rampage, and then Scamander is how I was saying it, like Newt Scamander,
Yeah.
who is
No idea if that's
I don't
right,
know,
but
it feels right?
yeah.
So Scamander is like the deity of the river. I don't know if he's really like a god or what he is, but he's like, hey Achilles, can you like not kill people in my water? Like this is really gross, and I can't flush everybody out.
Yeah, it's literally like he clogged the toilet. Like he had so many dead bodies in the
Yeah.
river that it's like actually clogged so much so that he actually summons like the river
Yeah.
god and get is getting in trouble. That's how brutal it was. Like I imagine it like just a completely
Mhm.
red river.
My favorite thing is like Scamander tried to ask Achilles really, really nicely to be like, hey, could you just like murder people on land? Like, I don't care if you want to kill them, fine, but like do it on land or like take the dead bodies out, something, because this is ridiculous.
Yeah, at least clean up after yourself. Like this is my home right
Yeah,
here. Like have some
because
respect.
Achilles basically walked into Scamander's house, destroyed it and then was like, okay, bye. Thanks.
Yeah, it's like going to your friend's house and blocking the toilet and then just like running.
For me, it was like the equivalent of like walking into your friend's house, starting a small fire, and then just being like, oh, thank you for having me today. Okay, bye. Or like you go into your friend's house and you, just like clog the toilet and then you clog the drainage system and then you rip the shower curtain and you just destroy their entire bathroom slowly but surely.
And Achilles is like, it's fine, they're compostable, 100%, 100% compostable, it'll
Yeah,
be
what?
fine. Just
Yeah,
wait.
just eventually it'll mellow out, decomposed, and then you can flush the toilet again. Don't worry about it. So Achilles has decided he doesn't need to listen to anyone and continues to fight in the river. So then the river god is like really annoyed about this. So he's like, well, next logical conclusion, I drown him. And then he tries to like absolutely murder Achilles, which like fair, okay? Like Achilles is in the wrong here. We all know it. And he like almost drowns and has to summon Neptune and Minerva to come save him because he didn't want to listen to Scamander.
Yeah. Pretty
Yeah.
intense.
So
There's never any like, conflict
mhm,
resolution in these books. It's just like murder, murder. That's just like the
someone
go-to.
gets saved by a god, then more murder.
Yeah.
So then Vulcan and Scamander start fighting because Vulcan's like, all right, I heard your prayer. Next logical conclusion, I start a fire that boils the river. And so he's boiling the river, trying to basically kill Scamander. And Scamander's like, all right, all right, all right. I've had my fun. Let the body stay in, whatever. And so
He's just like cooking the bodies.
yeah, can you
Gross.
imagine the smell? Gross.
I can just imagine them like
Ugh,
bubbling.
gross. No. Yeah, so that's happening. Scamander says, okay, I'll stop helping the Trojans. Just like, can you not kill bodies in my river? And then, all the gods start fighting again. And Achilles drives all the Trojans inside the walls of Troy. So then we're on to book 22. And the subtitle of this book is The Death of Hector. I was like, really? You're just going to spoil it for all of us right here, right now? Wow, okay. Did yours do that too?
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
what? Why?
I was like, "Are you kidding?" Yeah. I guess though, as we were saying before, people that would have read this would already be familiar with the story, so maybe it's kind of for like reference, I guess.
Yes.
But I didn't know that going into
Yeah.
it, so I was like, spoiler of the year. Like this has nothing on Adam Silvera. They both die in the
Yeah.
end. You know what I
Oh my god.
mean?
That book was so good. Um,
It
but I
was.
mean, the only reason I knew Hector died is because I read the Song of Achilles while I was reading the last couple chapters of this. So I already knew that going in, but I was like, really? Wow, okay, you're just gonna fully spoil it to anybody who hasn't read this book before.
And it's already dull enough trying to get through it all. And then
I
they
know,
they spoil.
the one juicy tidbit gets, spoiled for us all. So Hector's family is like really trying to convince him to go inside the wall, and he's like, no.
No, no
Yeah.
thanks. Thanks, but
Thanks,
no
but no
thanks.
thanks. So then Achilles and Hector's battle officially has begun, but like Achilles is chasing him around all of Troy. They're just running around it. They get around it like 4 times. And then Minerva's like, all right, I've seen enough of this. Okay, I'm coming down. I'm coming down. So she's like, hey, Achilles, listen, I'll go talk to Hector. Just stop running. Stop chasing him. You just stop right here. I'll go talk to him. So then she disguises herself as Hector's brother. It's like, hey, how about the two of us take a stand against Achilles and you can stop running. It'll be great. And Hector's like, you've been my favorite brother. All right. Okay, we'll do that. We'll do that. So then Achilles, Hector tries to throw a spear. Doesn't work out. He looks over at his brother and he's like, "Ah, that was Minerva." Okay, all right, okay, yeah, yeah, that tracks. That tracks. And then Achilles stabs him in the neck. I was like, "Oh,
Yeah, it's like I can imagine he's just like, "Oh, can I have another spear?" Oh no, and then he just kind of like
yeah."
knows that he's about to get absolutely
And
destroyed.
like in my
His life flashing
no,
before his
in my book,
eyes.
they specifically said that Achilles did not hit him in the windpipe so that he could still talk. I was like, "Oh, did yours say that?"
That's
Or
brutal. Mine just said like a hole in his armor.
oh, mine says he hits him in the neck, but misses his windpipe so that Hector can still speak. I was like, oh my god, yeah,
Brutal.
literally. So Achilles says that Hector will be because like Hector's like, please just if you bring my body to my family, like they'll reward you with riches. And Achilles is like, you will be eaten by dogs for what
Nope.
you did to Pat. And I was like, Achilles, no. What?
But also like boyfriend goals. You know
Literally
what I
though.
mean?
Literally
Avenging his
though.
avenging his death.
Achilles is a toxic boyfriend that we all fall in love with throughout the book, okay? Like he is very
Yeah.
much the guy that like will destroy an entire kingdom to get you back, and I love it.
Yeah, it's like he's a bad boy, but he's good just for me. You
Yes.
know what I mean? That's
Oh my
the
gosh, absolutely. So Achilles
But this is only the
mhm.
beginning of like the brutalness that he
That was like a
does.
teaser. We thought that was bad, and then he's like, "No, but it gets worse." And we're like, "Oh, okay. Why?"
I'm sad, but also loving the
Yes.
drama.
So then Achilles drags Hector's bodies behind the chariot, and Hector's parents see this happening. They're bawling their eyes out. Um, and then we flash and they tell us about how Hector's wife doesn't know she's knitting him this outfit, has a warm bath
Oh.
getting ready for him. She's like, he'll be home soon, la 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 la. And I'm like, oh no.
Meanwhile, cut to his body being dragged around by
Yeah,
chariot through the streets.
yeah, truly. Yeah. And
Horrific.
then um she's, chilling in her house. And then, like, she hears everybody gathering at the wall. And she's like, I should go investigate that. Let's go see what that's about. And she sees his body being dragged away. And then they had, like, this whole thing about how she's worried that her son's going to be an outcast now. And I was like, brutal. Absolutely brutal.
And doesn't she like faint then
Mhm.
as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Ugh.
so
Yeah.
sad.
That's.
Like I felt bad for Achilles. I think I still feel worse for him just because I'm
Mm, I
connected to
know.
him for some weird way. Oh yeah. I'm kind of like, oh, but also like, yes, Avenger
Yeah,
mode.
literally though. I mean, in actuality, both of these people are wrong, and there's no good side to Boar. So like, it's hard to.
Yeah, because I also really liked Hector
Mhm.
as well. So
I know. I think it's funny that they're like knowing Hector's gonna die. They're like, let me tell you about Hector and his family and his wife that's lost every living member of her family, his small
yeah.
infant son. I'm like, oh, uh,
Hey, like just get emotionally touched for a
yeah.
sec. Yeah.
And then they're like, carry those emotions with you and we'll come back to it. Okay. Thank you. So then we're on to book 23. All of Achilles, um, all of Achilles' people are taking time to mourn Pat. And then in a dream, Pat comes to Achilles and says they want to be laid to death together in the same urn. And I'm like, oh, that's
Mm.
beautiful. Okay. I'm like, yes, get laid to death with your husband. Yes, fully support. So after burning Pat's body, they put him in an urn and then they decide for funeral reasons to have chariot races. And I was like,
Gotta have some gaming at the
yeah, I
funeral.
was
You
like,
know what I
I
mean?
feel like I'm very much a fan of the idea of like celebration of life parties instead of like funerals. And
Yeah.
that feels like a good way to honor someone.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like having like a nice, barbecue and a few beers. You know what I mean? It's like chariot
Yeah.
race.
And then they could be like, oh, remember how he all did this for us? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Also, did you see that Nestor won the chariot race? I didn't think that would happen, you know? It's a good way to like change the subject from
Yeah,
sadness.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
sweet. Bring back chariot races at funerals.
Yes.
That's what I say.
We'll also allow javelin throwing,
Yeah, egg and spoon races.
drag straight racing. So they also put Nestor in charge of Pat's urn. And it's like, listen, my hope is that when I die, I also get put in this urn. And Nestor's like, thank you for putting me in charge of these things. And then they like continue on with the games and they start like wrestling and sword fighting, which is something. So then we're on to book 24. Achilles cannot sleep.
This is the final
Yes,
book.
for some reason. I don't know why this is the final book.
Yeah, 24. A strange number to
Yeah.
finish on, but
Well, I mainly have a problem with why is this the final book for the content purposes because of the lack of Achilles' death. You know, they don't get laid to rest together, and I'm sad.
no
No
closure.
closure.
We'll never know. We'll never know.
That's why we need the Song of Achilles to let us know.
Not a sponsor, but wish it
Yeah,
was.
Madeline Miller. My email is so Achilles. Okay, sorry. So all the gods have decided that Achilles needs to give Hector's body back. They're like, this is kind of getting a little ridiculous. This is not good. Um, so they call Thetis up. They're like, hey, tell Achilles to give the body back. She's like, heard. So she goes talk to Achilles. It's like, it's time. It's time. You know, you've laid your friend to rest. It's time. So he's like, okay, fine. So Hector's dad comes up, starts talking to Achilles' squire. And then he talks with Achilles, and Achilles gives him the body back. But he's like trying really not hard not to kill Hector's dad here, which I was like, listen, Achilles, you literally don't have to. Like, do not kill him. And then, you know, he says, how long is your funeral going to take? And Hector's dad's like, about 11 days. And Achilles is like, okay, we'll stop the fighting for that. And then they get to everyone flash to everyone crying over Hector's body for the funeral. And then the book ends. The book ends right there.
Yeah. Yeah, it does feel like a page is
Yeah.
missing, doesn't
We
it?
don't get Achilles' death, which has been hinted to the entire novel. We don't get the end of the war.
Yeah.
They're just kind of like, and it's done. There you go.
Yeah, it's like stay tuned for the Odyssey.
Yeah, I guess. I'm like, okay, I guess we'll have to read the Odyssey now because that just ended there for some reason.
Yeah, I feel like it wasn't very much like payoff for the image
Yeah.
I read,
I
you
know.
know.
I was like, it just kind of stopped. So now we have to read the
all,
Odyssey.
all this all this just for
Yeah.
that, you know. But yeah, now at least at least we're intrigued now for the Odyssey.
So I guess this is a hint to probably our next episode's going over the Odyssey. I think I'm gonna honestly thinking more about it just because we did get left essentially on a cliffhanger of what will happen. I do think the next round of episodes should be the Odyssey. That's what I'm thinking. Okay.
Sounds good.
So I think
I'm
we
up for
both are
that.
gonna read because you wanted to read the Emily, I forgot her last name's translation as well, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we'll just
Yeah, the modern one, wasn't it? The like modern
yeah, let's do
translation.
that one. I really think that that's what we have to do because now I also want to read Cersei really bad. So I'm not saying that that's the reason we're doing this. I'm just saying I do already own Cersei. So
I just want to read all of the mythology adaptions. I want to read lore. I want to read Song of Achilles. I want to read A Thousand Ships. I want to
I
read
do really want to
Cersei.
read A Thousand
So
Ships as well. So
yeah, looking forward to
yeah,
those.
we have to read.
And before we were like recording, we were talking about modern adaptions and what we like think of
Yeah.
them. And I think I need to read more to like fully form my
Mhm.
opinion.
For
But yeah,
sure.
So I'm looking forward to. So that's about 5 more books to add to my TBR.
I know. We'll take a couple weeks and then we'll probably start recording the Odyssey, but I will talk to you about it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, sounds good.
okay. That's all we've got. I mean, I say a couple weeks as in time recording, but like actual, it'll be like what, a week for you guys, listeners, you dear listeners. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's all we've got. We got a lot of hate for the fact that this book just kind of ended. So at Homer, what's up?
But that's a good writer, you know, they keep you hooked for the next one. So we shall see.
Homer's just like subtle plug at the end. And stay tuned for the Odyssey.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's all we got. Thank you so much for joining me. Where can all the people of the internet find you and your podcast?
About a Book podcast on Instagram, and then About a Book, all one word, on Spotify and iTunes and all of the things.
Yeah. So we'll catch you in the next one, apparently, about the Odyssey, because that's what we're doing now. And all right, bye everybody.
Bye, guys.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Barely Bookish podcast. You can find me at Barely Bookish on literally everything. Next week we will be talking about the movie Troy with Brad Pitt, so please watch that if you haven't already. And then we will be talking about the Odyssey in 2 weeks. So please consider reading it. It was honestly more of a fun read than the Iliad for me. But I'm curious to see what you all think. But yeah, let me know on social media what you guys think. Do you prefer the Iliad? And if you do, please fight for it because I want to know exactly why you prefer the Iliad. But if you prefer the Odyssey, let's also talk about it. It's going to be fun. But I will catch you guys next episode. Thank you all so much for joining us. Our logo was designed by my little sibling Sarah. Our theme song is by Raphael Crux. And I will catch you all in the next one. Bye.